Welcome to Tales for Wales, a Welsh history podcast brought to you by two boozy idiots. I'm Frank, and I'm joined by Jack. We've been friends for over 20 years, and we have a genuine love for Welsh history and comedy, so we thought we would try and blend the two and put it out in a bloody old podcast. We're going to talk through the famous Welsh battles, events, and people, whilst having a few cans and trying to shine a light on an otherwise dim-lighted history. To stay up to date with everything from our pod, get around our Twitter account, which is Tales4Wales. So without much further ado, what the bloody hell have you been up to? Catchy, which is Jack backwards with an I at the end.
We won't go further into that. It's just damning on my entire character. But yeah, no, I've just been recovering, mate. I tried to think of something like a funny anecdote to give you today, but to be honest, I've been such a wreck since the weekend. For our listeners, we went on a little boozy weekend away. Not just the two of us. It wasn't romantic. It was we brought our girlfriends and everything like that. It was,
Don't lie. It was just me and you.
It was just me and you. Yeah, little cabin in the woods. No, we took the dogs away. And the pooches. Way, lads. But,
no.
Poor.
That is bad.
No, we went away with a go. I know that's so bad. I felt a bit bad saying it, but it's recorded.
That's not us. We're not those kind of guys.
No, we're not those. The old ball and chain.
The dragon. Keep the dragon at bay.
Dragon. She was roaring that weekend. But no, we took we had it was 12 of us, was there?
Yeah.
6 couples, 4 doggies. It was good fun.
Yeah,
but it was very, very boozy in typical fashion. We used to say to me when we, this was back when we used to live a bit closer, we used to go to the gym every morning. We used to say, we're always fine by Thursday. Thursday is like the great reset, isn't it? So like the Monday, you're feeling like hell, like you're in the fucking 7th circle of hell. Tuesday's like hell light, diluted hell.
Yeah.
Wednesday, you're like, I'm finally like a normal human being. And Wednesday, you're like, oh, what's that hankering I've got like in the back of my like, oh, I need a beer.
Give me a quencher.
So, in true fashion, it's Thursday and we're back on it. So that's what's been going on with me, really.
You did that mad thing where we finished a big weekend away. So we come back Sunday night, all of us are broken. You carry on drinking because you do the what makes you better, what makes you bad makes you better. That philosophy.
Yeah, that was, in hindsight, that was a foolish move. But I felt like shit on the Sunday. So like I thought, well, come on, when you think I'll just have like 2 or 3 and then that'll sort of take the edge off and you'll be okay. But then I was like, well, I do have like a leftover crate. I mean, I do have tomorrow off. Why not just have a few? I was in bed by like 9. But yeah, it really did a number on me the next day.
I thought I'd mention that this whole podcast started because when we used to work in our separate workplaces, we'd get really bored and end up on like a Wikipedia rabbit hole of Welsh battles. And this battle is my origin story. It's the first battle I ever read about when I was meant to be working. And I also love it because it's not too far from Aberystwyth, which is where I went to uni. And I love Aber because it feels like it quite easily be a town from the Middle Ages. It's like lawless, it's filled with booze. The standard drink they do in most pubs is called the Admiral, which is 4 shots of vodka and like knockoff Red Bull. It's like frequented by bizarre local characters. There's like a famous man with a cat on his shoulder called Catman. He used to walk everywhere around with it stuck on his shoulder. And it's a town fueled by
it's what Glyndŵr fought for his descendants to have the right to have what was it called, the Death Star.
Yeah,
and,
the Death Star.
The Death Star on it.
So
the
Death Star,
I can't remember.
The Admiral's the main one. The Death Star only comes in 2 pints. You can't buy it in a single pint, and it's like cider, Carlin, like shots galore. It's fucking horrible. It tastes really nice, but it looks horrible. But yeah, it's a bizarre local characters there, and it's like a town fueled by rumours and gossip, and it's like the last place to get any official news. So it feels like a very medieval town. It feels like you'd only get news.
Very much going back in time. I like that.
Yeah. And there's like constant street fights on nights out, but like it's all relatively harmless. Like you might get clocked, but they won't stomp on your head. Like it's good, honest folk.
It's good, honest fun. It's just a bit of a lark around, isn't it? It's not real fighting. It's fine.
No, I thought I'd like
unlike what was in this fight.
Well, but yeah, quite. Can I give you a little anecdote of a night out in Aber? Because I think it will help paint the mood of where this fight is. Because this battle happened not really, really close, like in the hills, not too far from Aberystwyth. I thought I'd try and give the listeners a picture of what Aber has become now, what he fought so hard for.
Flavour, yeah.
Yeah. So one night in Aber, one of my best friends, Ollie, he didn't fancy coming out. So I was like, oh, come on, mate. And he's like, oh, okay, I will come out, but only if I have to wear white face paint and come out like the moon from the Mighty Boosh. And I was like,
It's
oh.
such a mental thing to do.
And I was like, oh, all right, I guess. So, like, this self-imposed weird
I
little
know Ollie.
forfeit.
I've met Ollie many a time, and he doesn't strike me as the guy that needs some sort of dress up to get out. You know, he doesn't.
No.
He doesn't strike me as a guy who needs a bit of dressage to his social life.
And it was like self-imposed. It was like a weird forfeit, but it worked. Then he came out. But at that time, we had like, this long-running feud with this other group of lads who we'd always ended up in a scrap
It's like
with.
he had a gun to his own head. I'll do it. I'll pull the trigger if you don't let me go out as the moon, Franks. Like,
yeah. Yeah, we had and at the time we had like long running feud with this other group of lads, and we'd always end up in a scrap with them. Are we on the dance floor of Yoko's, which is like, as you know, is a tiny nightclub consisted of one room, sticky floor, plastic
oh,
pints,
yes, I do.
Like, school disco vibes, isn't it?
Very much our sort of joint, yeah.
Yeah, and me and Ollie were cutting some serious shapes, and like lo and behold, we danced our way into the pit of the enemy, the rival gang of blokes, and one of these boys was like
you'd led yourselves astray.
One of these boys was like semi albino, and I seem to recall like he had like white eyebrows. I think he was just like pasty and a bit spotty. But like during one of our shit little scraps, we used to hurl the albino slur at him in an attempt to demoralize him, like real war tactics.
You won't go full physical. You got to weaken your enemy's mind before you take out the body. I enjoy that.
Anyway, as
you like the guy in Game of Thrones, isn't it? Where they're yelling, they're blowing the horn through the middle of the night and they're really pissing off the guys. I will kill that man.
Yeah.
He keeps yelling albino at me. I'll kill that man.
Anyway, as we do our way into this like viper pit, this albino kid saw Ollie with the white face, and as soon we done it to take the piss out of him, and then like all hell broke loose, and it was like fists at dawn. It was just me and Ollie.
Good.
Yeah, it was just me and Ollie against all these hoodlums, and it wasn't like we didn't mean to, but it looked like we decided to paint Ollie up, throw him in amongst this guy and all his mates, and get our heads kicked in.
That guy must have gone, oh my god, he's got a real fucking dig at me here. He's come out and he's mugged me off in front of my mates. I can't let this stand. I have to, it's like Vikings, offending each other's honor. He's like, I can't let this lie. And all Ollie's doing, he just wanted to go out as the moon, bless him.
It's so stupid.
He never wanted to go out as the moon, did he? He knew exactly what he was doing. He was going, those guys will be out. He's seen on their social media they were out tonight. And he was like, I tell you what, I'll say to Franks I'm going out with the moon, no one will suspect a thing.
Yeah, he orchestrated some day dot, didn't he?
The ultimate mind game. I love it.
All right, that's my Aberystwyth tale. So now I'm going to pass you over to Jack, who's going to give you a brief overview of the Battle of Mynydd Hyddgen, which we haven't announced the name of the battle. But if you've seen the name of this episode, you'll have realised it's called the Battle of Mynydd Hyddgen.
Yeah, if you're not a stupid shit, you'll
if you're not a fucking dumb cunt.
Also, there isn't much in common with that fight compared to this one. There was no moon, there was no white enough,
I mean, there was a moon.
It's a good
I'm sure
one,
the moon was there.
Oh, sorry, the moon, not the Mighty Boosh moon. Sorry, to have to clarify. For any Mighty Boosh enthusiasts there, sorry, turn off now if you're not. If you've just come here for Welsh history, brilliant. If you're here for Mighty Boosh anecdotes, not so much. Anyway, right, I'll get on with the actual history portion of this. So, the Battle of Mynydd Hyddgen, or Hyddgen Mountain, for those not blessed with a Welsh tongue, occurred in June.
That sounds
that
so
is
sexual.
Very sexual. It's I did it on purpose, mate. Obviously, if you
Welsh
don't call
tongue.
it out, it ruins the magic. Yeah. So this happened in June 1401, and as cool as this battle is, a lot of the shit back then wasn't really written down and stuff. So there's sort of little details. So you might have to use your imagination to sort of fill in the blanks if you think it's a little bit bare. But also, have a word with yourself and don't be so fucking judgmental. I'll give a bit of context to sort of lead up to this battle. So this was one of the biggest early battles that took place during the Welsh Revolt, which was going on from about 1400 to 1415. It was a time when there was a lot of anti-Welsh laws in place. So Welsh people were basically treated as second-class citizens for the most part. And eventually rising tensions led to Owen Glyndŵr leading an uprising against the English after he lost a land dispute to an English nobleman. I'll sum up. This is a very quick and short and sweet version of this. But basically, Owen was a fan of the old king, King Richard II. King Richard II was deposed by Henry Bolingbroke, who became Henry IV. The man that owned Glyndŵr was in dispute with Baron Reginald Grey de Ruthyn. Have a longer name, mate. He was quite chummy with the new king. So naturally the land dispute went in Reginald's favour. Glyndŵr was pissed at this, basically said, fuck you, I'm the Prince of Wales now, and I say we've had a bloody enough. So that's a very, very short version.
That's such a modernisation of it. As I said, fuck you, I've had enough. Listen here.
I've had enough, buddy. Yeah. So yeah, that's the very short and sweet version of the sort of why the Welsh were revolting in the first place. So I'll get on to the battle. So the battle was between Wales and the Kingdom of England. We know Owain Glyndŵr was commanding the Welsh. It's not known who was leading the English army. You can just assume he's a little beta soy boy cuck, probably. But, who knows. On the number side of things, the Welsh had between 120 to 500 men, mainly consisting of archers on little hill ponies, which is a great image. The English were comprised of English and Flemish soldiers, numbering between 1,500 and 2,000 men, mainly infantry, with some heavy cavalry support. So it's worth noting that several sources actually make a point of saying that the English-Flemish soldiers were lacking in experience and had a general sort of lack of discipline. That comes into play a bit later, but just bear that in mind as I'm going through this. So the exact location of the battle isn't actually known, but it took place in the Cambrian Mountains, which are about 20 miles northeast of Aberystwyth, as Franco mentioned earlier, not too far from his spiritual home. The English-Flemish army marched up from Pembrokeshire, and Glyndŵr apparently did like a phased retreat to sort of lure the English through and over the mountains. So
the old Dutch
have
goodbye.
A little pop. The old Dutch goodbye. Leave a lingering stench so that they have to follow, basically. So yeah, he'd pepper them a little bit, fuck off up the mountain sort of thing, drawing them up. This was a ploy to exhaust the English, basically, because they weren't really fit for the terrain. There's 3 main grave sites around Mynydd Hyddgen, hence the name of the battle, suggesting the Welsh did their classic hit-and-run tactics. Because of their skills with longbows, they never had to get too close, so could just, pop in, pepper the English, on and off, reposition, rinse and repeat, again and again. It's just a classic old Welsh tactic. As I mentioned earlier, I enjoy the idea of Welsh boys on these tiny ponies with their longbows, because longbows are like 6 foot tall. So like they're like tiny little horses, basically your feet almost touching the ground, and these big fuck off longbows. It just must have been like what were the English
do you reckon they used longbows during that though?
Well, some sources I read said that they were using longbows.
No, that's and so I just funny.
Would think that is probably like twice the fucking height of the horse.
Have you seen those horses? When I did the Duke of Edinburgh, I went up what's that cunt of a mountain, and the shit went up. I don't know why I'm being aggressive towards
Penavan?
it. Penavan, yeah, people love it, but it's fine.
So angry towards Penavan. That's everyone's entry-level mountain, man.
But the one opposite of Cribbin, it's nice one around there, but people go mad for it. But anyway,
when
I did Duke of Ed... I've already done that joke to my missus. Background story.
Right,
people are listening. Yeah. No, just a background story to people. Whenever Jack gets nervous, I always say, "Oh, cripes and cribbins! I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue around here." And there's a mountain called Cribbin.
Yeah, this is being cut, mate. It's all being cut. No one will ever know your story.
Yes. Anyway, when I did the Duke of Ed, you'd walk around there and you'd see from maybe I don't know a bit of a distance away. I'd see these horses all together. I thought, oh fuck, like wild horses. Look like bam. I'm a city boy. I don't know what horses are like. Well, I just imagine the horses will batter you. It got closer. They're fucking tiny. Like they genuinely are small. And another fun fact: horses can't sleep on their tummy because they're so fat they'll crush their organs. Similarly to me.
Really? I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, that's why they're always on their sides. That makes sense.
Yeah, and they can sleep for a little bit, but they usually sleep standing up. They lock their legs into place like fucking... That's how I'm going to have to sleep when I'm older. Just have to sit lock-legged.
Stood up, fucking eyes open, like fucking Gandalf.
Yeah.
Also, I like that you come here for the Welsh history, stay for the equestrian knowledge. Divulging into a bit of different territory here. I like it.
Yeah, back to you, mate.
So yeah, I love the idea of these Welsh boys on their little tiny ponies, and in contrast to that, the English/Flemish, I suppose, chose their troops quite poorly here, because the cute little Welsh ponies they're actually ideal because they're lower center of gravity for rocky and boggy terrain, which is what the Cambrian Mountains basically consists of. Whereas the English army, their infantry struggle to travel across it. Obviously, you're just walking around in heavy armor, you're walking uphill, it's shit. But mainly the heavy horse, which is sort of a massive tool in the English army's arsenal, was basically rendered useless here because they're meant for smashing into the enemy on like an open field, gathering loads of momentum and just using all that force to just bowl over the enemy. But here they're stuck in marshes, they can't get any speed up because they're on this craggy ground uphill and everything. So the English, despite having huge number advantage, were really brought down bogged down, you might say, by the choice of units here. Basically, the end result was around 200 English/Flemish dead, with a bunch more captured, and less than 50 Welsh casualties, according to sources.
Pretty good numbers.
Which is a huge result, considering, I know you think 200 out of 1,500/2,000 is not that much, but considering...
Well, we said this
the
before.
force they were facing, it's insane.
Yeah, we've said this before on this podcast. Sometimes the numbers don't seem massively overwhelming, but a lot of fighting wasn't like to the death. It wasn't to, you'd quickly realise that your battle was losing, and then you'd either retreat or some of your men would just surrender. So, even though
this is where the inexperience, as I mentioned earlier, comes into play, because these guys didn't know what the fuck they were doing for the most part. Once you start seeing more casualties your side than the other side, despite the numbers, you're probably just going to call it a day.
Yeah, and they happen a lot of the time. They'd have lots of battles. So they might lose a couple. And go, oh, do you know what? We're losing this. Let's get out of here, and we regroup and go again. Or you'd start to lose, and then you'd surrender, and you'd parlay your way out of it. Sorry, I've had too many carlings. I'm belching.
Burpee boy.
Yeah. So that's a real battering. Considering the numbers, you'd assume that the English and Flemish should lose less than 50 in this because they got so much more. And it should be the other way around,
medieval total war fight, I'd have just done the automatic thing there because I thought I'm so sure of myself. But oh dear,
a bit of context. That's a game me and Jack are obsessed with from probably the early 2000s, which is a computer simulator of medieval battles.
You'll hear many a reference to it. You'll hear many a reference to it throughout these episodes. To carry on, basically, after those 200 English had died, a bunch more captured and all that, the English and Flemish, they decided to do a runner after this. They knew they couldn't win. They legged it. It became a massive win for the Welsh Rebellion, becoming a kind of recruiting drive for the cause, really, because it was really early doors, only a year into the sort of Welsh revolt. This was like a sort of sign that not only could the Welsh fight the English, but they could also beat them back. So it was a massive boom to recruits, joining the cause. And it wasn't long after that as well that Henry IV led another force into Ceredigion, sort of like I'm going to teach the Welsh a lesson here, and he got beat back again. So it was sort of compounded then in the same year, and this was just, this was the big recruitment drive the Welsh needed.
Yes, it's first. So this is his first year, and this is his first official kind of big battle. There's been skirmishes before, but nothing to this kind of volume or size. It's his first significant battle, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. And then you've got arguably the biggest Welsh victory, Battle of Brynglas in 1402. But as I said, there's another episode on that. So this is just a little sizzler for you all if you want to read about that.
Yeah. So on this podcast we do two brilliant features: Man of the Match and Dick of the Day. And Man of the Match is we both offer who was the best or most significant part of the battle, who with the reason why the people won, and then the Dick of the Day is who was the person who fucked it up. These are footballing terms, which Jack, who is a avid supporter of no football team because he hates sports, but you've adapted well. You know what they are now, don't you? So should I kick to you? Who is your Man of the Match?
Kick to me? What's that? Is that another term?
Alley-oop to you.
Also, I don't hate sport. I'm just ambivalent. You know what I mean? I just if you boys want to go out on the beers, but there's a football game involved, I'll still come. I don't know what's going on. I don't really bother.
You ever hear that socialist poem? You ever heard that socialist poem? First they came for the Jews and I did nothing. Then they came for the communists and I did nothing. That's it. First they came for basketball and I did nothing. First they came for football and I did nothing. And then they came to me and there's no one left to do anything. That's you.
But I play no sports, mate, so I'd be golden, wouldn't I?
You'd be the one coming for us, you bastard. Right. So who are you dishing out your Man of the Match to?
So my man on match, I think you can probably guess it. It's got to be our little buddies, the hill ponies, isn't it?
Oh, that cute, innit?
It's got to be. It's got to be because
Yeah.
they gave the Welsh the big W. Glyndŵr had archers on foot, apparently, present at the battle as well, and they're just being like a general nuisance. But I think really the win is owed to our maneuverability on the rocky, boggy, horrible terrain, and I think that's just I don't think you could win without them really in this instance. It was a split between them and the longbow, but the longbow has got a lot of limelight on other episodes, so I got to go for those little nags, and I.
We also, little nags, if you've been to that area, it is really rocky and it is really boggy and really difficult to move around. And you can really picture, if you're in like quite heavy armour, walking around, getting quite stuck in the mud, and you have these ponies who are adaptable and can move around it and their hooves aren't getting stuck down, and just getting peppered with like arrows, and you're turning around constantly, you're trying to move around, and then from there you're getting people in sitting positions shooting you off with arrows, and then when you try and get close to them, you're away again, the enemy away again. It'd be fucking terrifying. So my man of the match is the bogs themselves, the boggy land. Yeah, we talked about this before in this podcast, that Welsh victories often happen in this green and pleasant land due to the fact it's in Wales and it's on Welsh turf. It just seems untamable and wild, and it seems to be the downfall of the enemy so often. The reason people in Wales have survived for so long, it survived the Romans, it survived the Vikings, it survived, it got conquered by the English, but Edward I, but it survived for so many years, being unconquerable, even between tribes, because we know this area so well, and you know how to use it and weaponize it.
Yeah, it always goes in our favour using the terrain, just because we know it and we can utilise it to the best of our ability. Case in point, the English here, they sent where are the tacticians in this fight going? We're going up a mountain. I know what we should do. Get like heavily armoured infantry and huge heavy horses to go through boggy, and they just don't know, do they? I mean, I guess that's the only excuse they have, is they don't know the terrain.
Yeah.
And it always comes to our aid, basically, doesn't it?
So also, this apparently happened next to somewhere called Nantamor, which means the stream of pigs, or pig stream, and that made me laugh.
That is great.
I like the idea they named that after they killed all these Flemish guys. But, this is Big Stream. I assume they were French. I don't know what.
Through the Flemish and the English, and they were fucking pigs.
Yeah, you fucking pig stream. Have a fucking go on that, you pig piss stream head.
I vote in hill ponies, I reckon.
Yeah,
because although we got the terrain, I think we've had the terrain in other episodes as well, where the bosom of Wales itself has sort of come to our aid. But I like the idea that hill ponies getting a medal as well. That's cute image.
Yeah, I think you're right. We have referenced before. It might not be in chronological order, but we do stay tuned because we do talk about terrain. God, this is dull. But we do talk about terrain quite a bit. Yeah, and the nags are quite cool. And it's quite cool that you still see wild hill ponies all across Wales today. All right, man of the match
Descendants
goes to...
of champions, mate.
Yeah. Our connection's a bit slow, but that worked perfectly then. I said the man of the match goes to the descendants of champions. Right, who's your dick of the day?
So I'm sticking with a sort of equestrian theme here. I'm gone for the heavy horse, and it's not so much the heavy horse themselves. I'm not sort of blaming them for being on the side of the oppressor in this. Yeah, just because they're on the side of the oppressors, they've been manipulated, same as many people. It's fine.
What are you defending here? You sound like a Nazi sympathiser.
I don't think the horses are to blame. That's all I'm saying. They're just doing their duty.
We're just following orders.
Yeah, sire. But it's more the arrogance of throwing them into the mix. Because the English used to do that a lot. They used to throw them into every battle and win because they're fucking devastating. On an open field,
terrifying.
They are deadly. And they are really hard
describe them a little bit. Just paint a little picture for what the heavy horse is.
These heavy horse are basically, imagine the biggest, beefiest fucking horse you've ever seen, with the biggest, beefiest knights on top. They're all bloody clad in the heaviest armour, and their whole purpose is to, as a cavalry unit, just charge your force, and essentially you can't stop them from running through you. They just completely run you ragged. And then the other infantry, the other side, will come in and just shank you, kill you, whatever, because your formation is completely disrupted.
Do you know like Shire horses?
Basically.
They use Shire horses quite a bit in them, and Shire horses are just pure like muscle. They're massive, and the way they fly. I think I showed that video of those people who what they call stunt actors. they had like a medieval battle where these horses ran through them, and he was cladded in loads of protective gear, and he just gets fucking eviscerated. Because their idea was like a smash tactic, wasn't it? Just smash through the enemy lines and batter them, and then troops could run in behind.
Yeah, because being in formation was such a not trivial, it's the opposite of trivial, pivotal part of your army, being able to hold your ground and things like that. And basically these heavy horse were a nightmare for that. But
I didn't really think of it that way, but you're right.
Because what the English tended to do then was just throw them in, because they were a trump card in almost every fight. There's a lot of examples with them fighting the Welsh, especially, where they'd throw heavy horse in, thinking, well, that's our ace in the hole, that's our winner. Yeah. But they just can't operate on certain terrain. So, for example, this marshy, boggy land, this craggy land, uphill and things like that, they can't get enough momentum, they get stuck. And because they're so heavy, they're not like the little dutty hill ponies that can prance around willy-nilly. They just get stuck and bogged down. So, yeah, my dick of the day is not so much the heavy horse, but the sort of using the heavy horse always as like, this is our guaranteed victory. The arrogance of it all.
Well, that's mine's quite different to that. So mine would be, I hope this isn't come across as racist, but the Flemish. And let me tell you why.
The Flemish part of our audience, mate, they're going to be fuming now.
Well, what the fuck is a Flemish? Who are the Flemish? So, I daren't Google it because I don't care enough to. Because you're
not even going to give them the time of day.
No. Imagine that traipsing your phlegmy ass all the way from like Phlegmland, only to die in a bog of eternal stench. It's the
thing is, right. All I know from the Flemish is they're not from the native British Isles, right? So that means they've come from somewhere else to fight with the English. Now, I get it. You might be a mercenary or something like that, but what's your beef, Flemish people?
Yeah.
What's your beef with Cymru? Do you know what I mean?
Well, if I was a scoundrel and an ignorant racist, I'd say they came to Wales because when we speak Welsh, we sound like we have phlegm in our gobs, and they wanted to come back to the motherland or the Phlegmland. But that's just me being a...
That is low.
That is low. Belly of a snake. So I think in this case, I'm going to stick to my one. I think the Phlegms have a lot more to answer to than the poor big horses, the big gumps who got sent in front line.
As I said, those big gumpy horses, it's not their bloody fault, but the Flemish, they chose to be there on June 1401, they chose to be there, the bastards.
I heard they started it. I heard they said, you heard those pricks in there, they've been calling you nonsense.
Flemmy boys shouldn't throw stones, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Should we, I'm going to dare Google right now, what is a Flemish?
I'm trying to I can't think of the top of my head.
Can I tell you?
Go on then.
It says a Flemish is a yellow-bellied cunt. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, you've heard it here first, ladies and gents.
It says it's Flemish, relating to Flanders. Ned Flanders, the worst of all the Simpsons, the Cinnamons.
I got great images of them running in with their spears. They've got diddly diddly.
It feels like I'm running nothing at all. The Dutch language is spoken in Flanders. So fucking hell, this is blown my mind. I thought Flanders, that's like Flanders Field. I thought that was France. I am quite
yeah, same.
But Flanders, the Dutch language spoken in Flanders, one of the two official languages of Belgium, the Belgique got involved.
Oh, the bloody Belgians.
It's a low Franconian dialect. Just fucking have a word with yourself.
I like that as well. Low Franconian. That's a fucking slam and a half, isn't it? Back in the day, I bet. You're nothing but a low Franconian.
Now fuck off back to Flamland.
Fuck off back fuck off back to France, you Flemish lot. We're not actually from France. We're from. Get fucking out of here.
I'm no closer to seeing where we are. The third thing on Google says Flemin and Walloon people, Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm done. You had your chance, Flemons. You could have told me in my first few instances, but I don't know what you are, and I don't care anymore. You got beaten.
I like that we're a so-called history podcast, and we're like, I thought Flanders was in France. Oh yeah, me too. Oh, well, I guess we don't do our research. I guess we're not enough of it.
And I won't bother to learn where it is. I'm going to continue to say it's France. It really is France. Yeah. It's got to be.
Ignorance.
So do you think the dick of the day is the Flemish there?
Yeah, go on, I'll agree with you on that.
So we'll give that man of the match to the Hill Ponies and Dick of the Day to the Flems. And it's a bit of a shorter episode than normal because, like you said, it's not massively recorded. It's quite quick, but it's massively important. So,
but yeah, it's one of the big first ones. It's sort of like a launching off point for a lot of the Welsh-English battles during the sort of the 15th century.
Yeah.
I'm getting that right. No, it's 15th century is 1400s. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, man, that always throws me. I always remember it because we're now in the 21st century, and 20th Century
That's
Fox
right.
was the one before.
Again, we're a history podcast, but yeah.
It is funny that this was when I came to you with this idea, like to start this podcast, this was the very first one I ever read, because I'd sit there on my desk and I'd Google famous Welsh battles, and then this came up and I read it and I could vividly picture it, and I thought, fuck, that's like, I know it's niche, and I think anyone listening to this would be only listening because they're also interested in niche British history or niche medieval history, but I just it felt visceral and I could feel it, and I thought, fuck, imagine being that outnumbered and on a couple of ponies. I loved it, and that's what kind of sparked my interest, and look, here we are now.
Yeah, and you would think, wouldn't you, that with the such disparate numbers as well, the smaller army, I think in a lot of cases would just go, oh, fuck this, look, we're not going to win this, mate. But the fact that they stuck to the guns, they were like, no, I'm saddling up on my little tiny pony with my massive bow. We're doing
stronger men than I.
Absolutely.
Braver men than I should say, yeah. Well, should we wrap it up there? And should we let them know where we can find us? So we want you to get in touch with us at Tales for Wales on Twitter. And if you could like and review or wherever you listen to us, like and review and share with your friends if they'd be kind. If they're not kind, well, tell them to fuck off and shove up their ass, because I don't want mean words said to me.
I don't want any sort of criticism, constructive or otherwise. I just want you guys to love us, like, unconditionally. It's not so much to ask.
And if it's not good, or there's something you think, that could be really good, but you need to change this, don't tell us. Fuck off. Start your own podcast with your own mate.
We'll never change. We'll never change.
Every time we sign off, we get so defensive because we know we don't want to be like ridiculed.
Yeah. And if you don't like it, I didn't even want you to like it anyway, so joke's on you.
It was a joke. The whole thing was a joke.
I just wasted half an hour of your time, so actually we win. Cheers.
And I've wasted 10 years of my life. How many times have you spent editing podcasts that this audio is too bad? That was all a joke as well. Ha ha.
Yeah, we win. You suck. We win.
Yeah, fuck off. I did not know.